Hi, everyone. It's Natasha Trenev, and I'm so delighted to have what I call my sister in spirit, Dr. Tracey Stroup on, a fabulous naturopathic doctor who I love dearly, and we're so aligned in many aspects. And today we want to tell you why probiotics are the most important health concept for the 21st century and why it's really simple if you understand how to use them and don't make it too complicated and don't listen to too many stories because your body is a magnificent tool. It's designed to heal itself. It's not designed to fail. And we have to change our thinking about it and figure out what it is that our body needs in this day and age and stick to that and not just go for every piece of advice that we get with somebody that looks like a model or looks exceptionally sexy on social media. That's not going to, cut it. I've been in this industry 56 years. I've seen and heard everything. And I'm sure that Dr. Tracy has seen a lot and she's influenced a lot of people. So we hope that with our hearts and our minds, we can improve your life, improve your day, and improve your perception of reality.
Mhm. Well, it's great to be here. Thank you.
Yeah, well, so yesterday we talked about, why probiotics are so important. And the problem is, I brought the term to the world in 1982. And for 20 years, people didn't know what I was talking about. And simply, it's choosing the right beneficial bacteria that are part of Homo sapiens health, that evolved with us, that are in the literature for 100 years, that are safe at any level. And since bacteria are a lot smarter than we are, if we want to get the right beneficial bacteria, we have to meet their criteria for what they want and not what we think is a good marketing plan. That's as simple as it gets. So, my concept of probiotics is very simple. I only use four bacteria. I use three of them in a special, what I call super pill, healthy trinity, which we have a bacteria for the small intestine, for the large intestine, and the transient flora. The transient flora bacteria is also the longevity. So you can take one pill twice a day, I recommend now, because of the amount of stress we're under. And then I have these separate bacteria grown in different media by themselves. So they're but come by themselves. So then you can decide how much you need of everyone. And it's not rocket science. You can determine to see how your body reacts. And guess what? You can take a whole bottle of any one of these bacteria. They will never harm you because they're part of us. We're not giving you bacteria that can, under conditions, turn against your body and try to take advantage of you. And then the fourth bacteria is the one that mothers have not been able to pass on to their newborn infants in North America, even if they're vaginally delivered and breastfed. And that bacteria is so important, especially for newborns, pregnant women, nursing mothers, and people of all ages who are sensitive. So you don't have to buy probiotics for every member of your family. We have the package. And I want to say that this is why it is the most important health concept, because 80% of your immune system is on the intestinal wall, which is 27 feet long. And those immune cells talk to the bacteria. And if you have the wrong bacteria talking to the immune cells, or you have the wrong size of protein or other molecules going through your intestinal wall, you're going to have a reaction. Your body is a phenomenal biochemical fueling machine. The intestinal tract is your fueling machine. So you have to take in trillions of bacteria with your food, which most people don't know. And then those bacteria have to be killed by stomach acid, where your protein digestion happens. It's then dumped into your small intestine, where the carbohydrate digestive process is completed, and the oil is emulsified by bile. You don't have to remember all of this, by the way. And then,
No quiz.
yeah, no pop quiz. And then it's absorbed through your intestinal wall. And when this system is disrupted, we have a whole bunch of problems that Western medicine has given different names of diseases, but they're all interrelated. That's the basic problem, is if this process, which you have to process food from the outside and make sure you don't upset your immune system and that you're nourishing your body, then everything is okay. If you're upset, if you're constantly stressed, if you're not producing the right amount of digestive juices in your stomach, if you're using pills to alter the digestive juices in your stomach, if you're eating foods that hurt the wall of your intestinal wall, you're going to have problems. It's very easy. Study the cultures of people that live long. Who in the heck wants to live to be 90 and be in a nursing home? Not me.
Yeah.
I
Well,
want to just pass in my
they don't
sleep.
know if they're there now, so.
No, no. I mean, this is for me. I'm not insulting anybody, please. You need these products, and that's why I wanted to share with Dr. Tracey, because she's dedicated to helping her people, and I think she knows my heart. I would drop anything. If anybody called me and said, "Listen, I need your help," I've walked out of parties, I've walked out of meetings. I will never say no. And that's the way we all should be right now. We should be loving and supporting each other and giving the best solutions to these very complex problems we have facing us.
Mm-hmm.
And this endless, attack of our immune system, of our thoughts. Remember, there's only three things that can change your genes: is your perception of reality, the toxins that you ingest via air, water, or food, and the toxins the bacteria produce in your gut. Period. Your genes do not turn themselves on and off arbitrarily. You're not doomed because you're carrying some gene. This
Right.
is false.
It's the expression of it. It really matters.
That's right.
Well, everything you're saying is absolutely true. And I think, prior to getting on the live stream, we had a little chat. And just for everyone's reference of who I am, I'm a traditional naturopathic practitioner, naturopathic doctor in Central PA. So I've been in this industry about 21 years and was in product formulation, not as long or as experienced as Natasha, but dabbled in it. And I had the pleasure of meeting you a few months ago. I was introduced to you by Dr. Judy, and it was a blessing for sure. So I've learned a lot in the short time that we've spent together, but our hearts are aligned in this purpose. I think we've overcomplicated health. I always tell my clients, health is simple. You build your house of health on a strong foundation of nutrition, hydration, movement, sleep, elimination, emotional, spiritual wellness. All the supplements after that are just bells and whistles, but you have to build it on a strong foundation. You can't build it on quicksand. And in my nutrition bucket is always the discussion of good digestive health, probiotics, enzymes, and their key role as the main thing that we should all be talking about. And, today, and all through COVID, if we think about that through the pandemic, you didn't hear a lot about probiotics. You heard a lot about zinc. You heard a lot about vitamin C. You heard a lot about a lot of nutraceuticals. And I thought it was great to have that exposure. But we didn't get down to the nitty gritty of our probiotic friends, our good bacteria that are really the good soldiers that defend us and communicate for us and radio control for us. So I think we have to bring these back. And no, they're not sexy anymore, but we can make them sexy again, I believe. And get people to realize that if there's one thing that they could do for their families, it would be this. It would be to make sure that they have a good probiotic, good gut health, and a good nutrition plan to maintain, attain, and sustain that reproduction of those probiotics. So I agree with you. I'm so glad I met you. And you personally, for me, have kind of resurrected this fire for, just the baseline protocols that we need in health today. And it is unfortunate. I mean, we don't ferment our food anymore. There's people bringing back, different types of fermentation. They're fermenting vegetables and things like that, yogurt, and they're also doing sourdoughs. So you can see this sticks and twigs health rising up again. We were talking about that, getting back to the simple, getting back to kitchen medicine. And that's really what probiotics are. They're fermentation. And it's
Mhm.
God's design, right? It was the way that he designed our body, that if we had this good bacteria that
Mhm.
would find a way to communicate and help our immune systems do the right thing. And so I always tell my clients, like, your body will do what it needs when it's given what it needs, but it can't do it without it.
Right.
And probiotics, hands down, are foundational. So
Right.
absolutely.
Coming from a family who introduced Bulgarian style yogurt to the United States more than 50 years ago, and I actually set the standard for liquid yogurt in the state of California.
Okay.
And there actually is an FDA standard, a USDA standard, which nobody really follows. Uh,
I am shocked.
and we introduced kefir through Altadena Dairy, and then there were so many mislabeled products that were called kefirs because remember, fermented products have a standard. In other words, I hate to use this example, but you can't call a wine if it's not a wine.
Right.
Right now we know the difference, but in fermented foods, people are very uninformed. So I literally was flown out to the state of New York and had to testify before their agency that controls dairy products to set a standard for kefir because all the immigrants coming in from the former Soviet Union were complaining that what are these people selling? This is not kefir. And they know because culturally they've been taught. So, what is my point here? I'm glad that everybody's getting back into fermentation and making better foods, but we've lost that cultural connection. And that's what I worry about because people don't know the basic concepts of sanitation. They don't really know what a starter culture is. And believe me, there is a starter culture for vegetables, for sourdough. It's actually called Lactobacillus San Franciscus. And and you know why that came in from a very clever researcher named it that way. But it's a lactobacillus. And we have yogurt, we have the different bacteria that make kefir, and all of those have to be agreeable with you. Now, why did Natasha in 1982 decide that she had to go into a concentrated acidophilus and develop probiotics? Because I realized what was happening environmentally and in the soil, in the food, in the air, in the water, that
Mhm.
we were not able to get enough of these bacteria that were historically available to us in our culture. And since I come from a family that's been in the culture business for 750 years, I realized that, we are in trouble. Even in 1982, we started having these severe problems related to our gut and not enough attention was being paid because what we've been taught to deal with in the West, and I think it comes from the pharmaceutical industry, so we adopted this in our naturopathic and our alternative health medicine, is try to find substances to control symptoms.
Mhm.
And that's not what natural healing is about. Natural healing is about, because I've been in this industry, like I said, 56 years, is to give the body the tools that it needs to heal itself. And you don't have to make it complicated. And like we discussed, Tracey, get 20 supplements that you bring in a bag and you have to take. No, that's not what the health food industry is about. And the
Right.
reason, I have my powdered probiotics is because it needs to affect the body immediately. And, people say, why can't I have it in the pill? Because I'm not doing this to impress you. I'm trying to give you what I think is the best thing for you.
Mhm. Yeah, absolutely. Well, I think, the repression model, which is what you're talking about. Dr. Sherry Tenpenny had said one time in a lecture we were doing together, she said, symptom free in the presence of pharmaceuticals is not health. And I was like, that's a very powerful statement, right? But that has been what we have been taught, to think we're healthy. So you're on these pharmaceuticals and you don't have a pharmaceutical deficiency, right? You don't have a
Mhm.
deficiency in those. Your body doesn't thrive on, some sort of prescription drug, but it can be forced to perform something or to stop doing something because that's what pharma does. It forces. What we do in natural health is feed the body. so that it's able
Right.
to do something. It's able to overcome, it's able to detox, it's able to heal. Absolutely. And it's not because we are healers, but it's because the body can do what it needs to do if it's given what it needs to do.
Mhm.
So when we're talking about probiotics, we're talking about enzymes, we're talking about gut health in general. The statement "all health begins in the gut" is true. It's been true for hundreds of years. And now we're just kind of recognizing still that we want full circle
Mhm.
away from the gut with all these protocols and repression therapies. And we tried to do a pill for every ill and take on that pharma method, and we're not getting any better. In fact, our lifespan has gone down. We're still the fattest, sickest country in the world. We have
Mhm.
more medical claims than any other country. 91.7% of the United States citizens have some form of, I use this term lightly, health care or insurance
Mhm.
policy. Those health care plans, or what I like to call them as disease management plans, you pay that money into that every month and wait to get sick. And then when you do get sick, that policy can tell you who you can see, when you can see them, and why you can see them. It dictates your health. What I try to teach people is how to take their health back into their own hands through education, through things like this, where we learn about
Mhm.
protocols, we learn about products, we learn about ingredients, we learn about quality. Because the more educated you are, the more informed consent you have for not only natural, but if you do choose medical, at least you know how to counteract the
Mhm.
effects of whatever pharma you're on. And one of the things, Natasha, that most people don't talk about or even think about is the amount of birth control that's used in this country and the
Mhm.
detrimental effect it has on the probiotics of the digestive system and the
Mhm.
entire body. It is one of the most highest prescribed at the earliest ages and to regulate young women's menstrual cycles. And it's destroying their gut. And most of the time, when I ask my clients, "Are you on any medications?" they'll say no. But then down the line, I'll ask them about their menstruation. They'll be like, "Oh, well, I'm on whatever birth control and I don't get a period." And I'm like, "Well, that's a medication." We've been so indoctrinated that they don't even think about that anymore. Gastrointestinal medications, there are the top 4 prescribed medications in our country. We
Yep.
have over 250,000 people die every year from gastrointestinal complications. That's insane. In a society that's supposed to have the best medical care and the most wonderful health care, why are people dying from digestive issues? Why are people put on proton pump inhibitors and acid reducers for years when inside the insert of those products it says do not take longer than 2 weeks? Why
Mhm.
does this happen? Because people are not educated to know any other way. And it's not a statement to sound mean. It's a statement so that people not feel condemned, but feel convicted to be like, maybe I should know better so that I can do better. Maybe I should know more so that I can do more for not only themselves, but their family. And so, what you
Mhm.
bring to the industry is this knowledge of how it once was. And that is the most important thing because if we don't know history, we're going to be doomed to repeat things, right? That's the statement.
Yeah.
You know the history of fermentation. You know the history, 750 years in your family of doing it. People should listen to your knowledge. And I will hear over and over again, where's the research? Where's the research? So let's talk about research. I think it's great and wonderful. There's not enough in our natural health industry. There's not
No.
enough research on probiotics. There's not enough research on fat. I mean, just adipocytes in general. Everyone wants to kill it, burn it, suck it out. And actually, fat is a really great part of your system, your immune system, and your organs. So there's just not enough research, and there's these concepts out there that things don't matter, right? Like gut health. I mean, I can't tell you how many gastroenterologists don't change diet, and some do. I'm not saying all, but they don't change diet. They don't recommend probiotics. They don't recommend enzymes. They just give a pill, suppress the symptom because that's the model. We don't want to suffer, and then move on. But here's what I want people to know tonight. Your body has physical discernment the same way it has spiritual discernment. Your body knows when you put something into your mouth and into your digestive system, whether it likes it or it doesn't. Now, I'm not talking about cake because we all like cake and cookies. Too much of that, right? If you ate 5 pieces of cake, you would get sick, maybe for most people. But my point is, your body's going to give you a sign. It's going to say like, "Ooh, my belly hurts," or "Ooh, I got this heartburn going on. I don't like that." And so that is a signal, a physical symptom that you need to either stop doing something or start doing something else. And so what do we do with that physical symptom? We go to the doctor and we squash it, we repress it. And so we continue this bad habit of eating things that our body doesn't like with this symptom repressor medication. And all of a sudden, we have another problem. And now we are on 2 medications to repress 2 symptoms that were probably caused by the first symptom being repressed and the side effect of the medication. And then all of a sudden, 5 years, 10 years from now, you're on 10 different medications to offset the effects of other medications. And all it started with was one little purple pill that was supposed to suppress the symptom because you were eating bad.
Mhm.
And what most people don't know is that by simply changing diet, putting in more whole foods, and adding probiotics and enzymes to their life, their digestive system can change hands down 100%. I've seen it over and over again. So,
Absolutely.
I mean, it's so simple, right? Just the little things
Yeah.
that we do to make huge changes in our health and offset future dis-ease just by putting in the preventative care in the form of nutrition that our body will use to heal itself. And so that's why I think probiotics are so important, because I think they're one of the foundational things that
Right.
every person should take. Every
Right.
person.
And I think what's happened is, I just want to get a definition. Western medicine is great for critical care. In
Absolutely.
other words, if you're in an automobile accident, you have a horrible injury, there's no place better than a Western medicine hospital. The
Mhm.
problem is that treating symptoms is not the way our body was designed to deal with.
Right.
And, as the person who introduced the whole concept of probiotics, the information out there is so convoluted. There's so much misinformation. And even the clinical trials that we use, strain specificity is something that I brought along. And the reason I stick to 4 is because you can even take probiotics that antagonize each other. And right now, I think we have a crisis in our nation with 80% of our so-called sick care dollar is spent on chronic disease. And, this is worse than it's ever been in the history, even of the health food movement or the entire nation. In fact, people were healthier when they smoked cigarettes and ate red meat. That should be shocking to all of us. And the fact that younger people have colon cancer, the younger people have pancreatic cancer, and they are starting to have turbo cancers, heart problems, skin problems. And what it is whenever the body has a problem, it's talking to you.
Mhm.
Yes, you can suppress that talk because you're uncomfortable with it, but you can't do that because that's not going to allow the body to heal itself.
Right.
The body is producing 10 million new cells every minute. Every year, your body replaces itself. If you don't have the right combination of bacteria in your gut that can help the body produce healthy, not cheap proteins, it leads to disease.
Yep.
It's as simple as that.
Yep.
If you're not replacing your cellular structure with sound proteins and healthy proteins, you are going to be in trouble.
Yeah.
And I want to simplify it to tell people, look, when time passes and you see how your body is growing or what your skin talks to you, your skin is not separate from you. The skin, according to Chinese medicine, will tell you what part of your intestine is in trouble by what kind of problem you have on your skin.
Mhm.
And what did we do? We give suppressive medication for the immune response to teenagers. We
Mhm.
keep them teenagers on antibiotics for 5, 6,
Yeah. I was going to
7,
say
8
it's even
years.
worse. It's antibiotics, right? They're not even giving repressors, they're just giving straight antibiotics. And
Yeah.
just for the audience to simplify it, there's only 2 causes of disease. It's deficiency or toxicity. That's it.
Right.
Those are the
Thank
two
you.
paths to the disease of everything. Give it any name you want for whatever insurance policy you want to claim it on, but those are the paths. And the expression of it looks different on every person because we are made up biologically, of different cells, different experiences, different, levels of nutrition, different levels of toxicity. So our bodies express different, but it's really the same sources. And, as we talked before the show, we need to simplify this for people just to give them some easy solutions that they can do every day. And so one of the things that I'll tell my people is they'll say, so-and-so is going back to school in August. What should I give my son? A probiotic. Make sure he's on a probiotic. Maybe get him on a good multivitamin that has the right forms, the right amounts, and nothing else, because there is a lot of stuff that gets put into supplements. And then, think about his nutrition, hydration, his movement, his sleep, how much time on the iPad. All of those things matter because they just fill our inflammation bucket. And the other thing that fills inflammation buckets is deficiency, because then your bucket's just full of nothing and you have nothing to, tap into. So an empty bucket is just as bad as a really full bucket full of a lot of toxins, a lot of xenoestrogens, bacterias, viruses, injections. We can just fill that bucket with whatever. And then we add on bad thoughts and EMF and screen time. And all of that breaks down your microbiome. So one of the things, I was reading a study one time, just by putting your cell phone to your face for 25 minutes, for 5 minutes, breaks down almost 25% of the natural bacteria and enzymes in the mouth and on the skin. That's a lot. Now, how many people have this thing to their face all day long? Or now we talk on speakerphone, but we're carrying it. Or we have the AirPods in, which are even worse because we're just radiating our brain. And that's the thing. There's no studies to show what is the microbiome breakdown. What's the probiotic death due to this really close EMF, distribution from this phone, which can go 3 feet, 10 feet for some. So we have a lot of, like you said, toxicity levels that are coming in every day. Our body is detoxing and fighting and saving your life every single day. So I guess I'll pose a question back to you, although that's kind of like your interview to me, but I'm interviewing you back. So talk to me about probiotics and their protective mechanisms in the body. What do they do?
Right. Well, first of all, I'm going to talk about the 4 organisms I chose, and it's based on a half a century of knowledge. Okay. The acidophilus, the Lactobacillus acidophilus, the Lactobacillus bulgaricus are there to help to facilitate the breakdown of the food and to make sure that the right molecular size is nourishing your body by entering into the bloodstream without upsetting the immune system. Now, they've been studied for anti-carcinogenic, anti-tumor properties, stimulating all parts of your immune system, adaptive and innate, dealing with making sure that the proper nutrients get into the body, because guess what? They have a vested interest in keeping you healthy, because you are the best environment for them to thrive. They have one objective in life: to thrive. And so when they make sure that every process in your digestive and absorption is properly handled, and they communicate with your immune cells by photon light emission, they're constantly talking. They want to make sure the body is protected, that the wrong organisms don't go across the intestinal barrier, get into your bloodstream, get a free ride to the organ, make a problem. Guess what? The bacteria are even found in the neurons in your brain. Yeah. I used to get into huge, heated debates when people say, oh, no, bacteria can't pass the blood-brain barrier. I said, you don't know bacteria. So what I'm saying...
They also don't realize, Natasha, that the blood-brain barrier doesn't cover the hypothalamus or the pituitary. That's called the circumventricular part of the brain that doesn't have a blood-brain barrier. So
thank you.
Go back to school.
Yeah. And so anyway, what I'm saying to you, that our thoughts create certain chemicals in our body that are not only destructive to our body, but they're destructive to the beneficial bacteria. You make yourself a hostile environment for these essential bacteria, because we're a hybrid. We are a hybrid of bacteria and human cells. And we have to create this a spiritual unity between the bacteria and the cells in the body so that we function optimally. And people don't understand this.
Yeah.
And that's why, the bacteria are alien. They're a part of us, and we've created a symbiotic relationship. But if we don't have the right bacteria, that symbiosis breaks down and leads to disease, because those wrong bacteria do not have a vested interest in making you healthy, because they don't care if they destroy you. They'll just jump onto another host.
Right. Yeah.
And
So
it's as simple as that.
Well, it's super interesting. Many people don't realize that symbiotic relationship, that it is our cells and the bacteria that are kind of in unison together. So it's almost like when you talk to somebody, I think they have an easier understanding of parasites than they do probiotics. So when you say a parasite will host on you, a parasite is in you, or however it will, get into the system, and whatever's in your body is in the parasite. So as they die off, you can experience higher viral loads, higher bacterial loads. Same thing with probiotics. Guess what I'm hearing is that, they host with us symbiotically, not just on us. The difference between our good bacteria and parasites is, probiotics aren't oxygen robbers. They're actually facilitators of oxygen and oxygen pathways in the body. So amazing little things. It's too bad that, they kind of took a little bit of a back seat during the last 3 years, because it could have been extremely beneficial.
Oh my goodness, especially during COVID.
Right.
I had the pleasure to work with Dr. Hassan, and her published works where she talks about that if you have long haul COVID, or if you've been vaccine injured, you've destroyed the bifidobacteria in your large intestine. And according to her very good research, that bifidobacteria destruction destroys your immune system.
Okay.
And that you must build up that bifidobacteria. And very few people sell the right bifidobacteria and make sure that they survive to reach your large intestine. Because remember, the bacteria has to go through the stomach, so it has to be protected from stomach acid. It has to survive through bile, and it has to go down 20 feet of your small intestine to get to the large intestine, which is also the colon. Okay, so those bifidobacteria that are essential, and what she said is really incredible. She said the spike protein can actually chew up the cell of this bifidobacteria and destroy it. So it is so important that all of us who have been exposed, that we make sure that we rebuild that bifidobacteria in our large intestine, because our large intestine is one of the areas in our body where there's no oxygen presence, and they love to live in that environment. And they're also important to make sure that you eliminate the toxins, because the toxins that are not eliminated through your feces get sent back to the liver. And that's why the liver becomes overburdened, and then all the other organs become overburdened because the liver is not able to do its job.
Yeah, it's too congested. And how many people have their appendix taken out in this country? I think it's like the top 1 or 2 surgery in the country. And the poor little, or not appendix, or their gallbladder, excuse me. But I mean, it's not the gallbladder's fault. It's the liver's fault, right? The gallbladder's just the catcher. It's just catching the stones that are coming from the liver. And it's because the liver's congested. It's because these people have poor digestion, or it's because they're constipated. And digestion is tip to tail. That's what most people don't realize. Is if I say, are you taking any digestive aids or over-the-counter aids? And they're like, no, And then we get to the question of elimination, and I say, are you having healthy bowel movements? And they're like, oh, no, I'm constipated. I have to take something every day for that. I'm like, well, that's an over-the-counter medication for digestion. So there's been a lot of segregation of the body and health. And so I think probiotics, they work for everything. What people don't realize is that this tube, I know you do, but this tube that we call the digestion or the gastrointestinal tract is our immune system. It's an identifier. The function of the tonsils are so important. As food passes by the tonsils, or air passes by the tonsils, that is part of our immune system identification. It takes slivers of what that is. It takes it back to the body and it says, what is this? And the body either produces antibodies against it and starts to swell. People that have swollen tonsils and adenoids, I'll have moms come and they'll say, oh, they're going to take them out. I'm like, well, did you ever think that the body defends itself, that those will swell to kind of keep you from eating whatever it is you keep eating?
And protecting you.
That's right. It's protecting you. And nope, we can't have protection, Natasha. We just got to cut that right out.
Even though it was in the mid 60s and my mom got sick and tired because I used to get tonsillitis as a child. I'm an immigrant child and had a lot of exposure to different areas. And somehow intuitively I said, no, Mom. I said, God doesn't put junk in your body. Right. What do you mean take out my tonsils? No. And thank God I didn't allow it, because once I got into my 20s, it went away. But, so many children have their tonsils taken out, their appendix taken out. By the way, the appendix is now considered the warehouse for the bacteria. If anything wipes out the bacteria in your GI tract, that's like your storehouse. Yeah. So now you're getting rid of your storehouse.
Yeah. Well, we've been taught that our bodies apparently, have too many organs and not enough pharmaceuticals. I mean, that's really the problem, Natasha. That's how the society is seeing it. I mean, people come in and I always ask, do you have all your organs? Like, it's one of my top questions, and they're like, well, I lost my gallbladder. I'm like, well, where did you lose it? Do you think you could find it, or did you have it surgically taken out? Like, just the way that we even explain it, it's kind of comical. But people have gotten to a point where they don't want to suffer. They don't want to go through the physical symptomology that the body's trying to communicate with them. It's unfortunate, because part of that is a clearing reaction. Part of the suffering is awareness of stop doing whatever it is my body doesn't like and start doing something else. And then we use that symptomology to gauge whether or not what we're doing is working. I mean, that's common sense of the body. And it's been suppressed so much from birth with a bunch of injections, and then move on from there with processed foods. And we've really dumbed down our bodies. I think one of the most eye-opening statements as I started to work in natural health was when people came into my office and they would get better and they were like, man, I feel great. Thanks so much. About a month later, I would get a phone call or a text and they would be like, what did you do to me? And I'm like, what? I haven't even seen you. What are you talking about? And they'll text me and they'll say, well, we went out to eat and we went to a fast food chain and went through the drive-through and I ate a cheeseburger and I got so sick. And I'm like, well, why are you mad at me that your body recognized poison? Like, a year ago, it wouldn't have recognized poison. You would have ate that and just went on with your life, because your physical receptors, that physical discernment was so dumbed down. And I really think we continue to do that by repressing our innate immune system. The innate immune system is the probiotic base. It's our identifier. Yes. Right? What tells us.
Absolutely. Yeah, the probiotics actually will warn the killer cells that there's a foreign entity entering the body and that they need to step up.
Right. Without even an antibody being produced before that warning happens. So that's innate. And think about all of our innate immune system. Our nasal immune system, right? That's respiratory. And we have digestion, urinary tract. Our skin is part of our innate immune system. And we have a repressor for everything. You have sinus issues, take a repressor. You have a cough, take a repressor. Oh, you got a skin rash? Let's put a repressor on there. Oh, digestive issues? We'll repress it. They are dumbing down our immune system. And so the probiotics are in there and they're trying to communicate. Even if you have a good base, it's hard. Yeah. So we have to get used to listening to our bodies and not so much running away from the symptomology. Like you said, I'm not opposed to medicine. It's an acute trauma model. But somehow we started to use it as this lifestyle application. It just needs repositioned. We need to teach people to take care of their bodies first, to put in the right things that their body can use to thrive. And then if something traumatic happens or someone needs a surgery, that's what Western medicine's there for. We have to reverse this chase down a pharmaceutical for every little tiny thing and repress the symptoms, because I will tell you, if you ignore a screaming child long enough, you're going to have a bigger problem as that child continues to scream or needs help. So your body's just giving you signals. We need to start learning to listen to it again.
Yeah, absolutely. And I just want to tell you that the problem today is that we have 1,000 chemicals or more in
Mm,
our environment. Glyphosate, which was originally patented as a very potent antibiotic, is now in about 98% of everything that we touch and come into contact with.
mhm.
And so I said, I didn't create the problem. I'm just telling you why we have to now go into a supplementation of probiotics, and we have to do the right ones, because if we don't do the right ones, they can cause more problems.
Yeah.
They can, instead of, creating that unity, they will help in one area, but will compete with another beneficial bacteria further down the GI tract, which you need to perform other, what I call, essential functions. So
Mhm.
it's this lack of knowledge. And I said to people, we can get back to eating just fermented foods, but it's going to take a while because we've polluted everything. I mean, look, 80% of urine samples in America have, traces of glyphosate.
Oh yeah.
It's everywhere. It's in the air, it's in our skin, it's in our food. And I tell people, you have to have a diet that your body agrees to. You can't
Mhm.
just go on a diet because some sexy looking person told you this is what you need to eat.
Yes.
And I said, it may be great for them, but it may not be great for you.
Right. And like we said in the beginning, we're all from different cultures, different
Mhm.
backgrounds. So, I'm in central Pennsylvania. When I go to Florida, I'm not ready. I don't live there in that climate. I don't, and God has made things regionally and seasonally. So
Mhm.
there's tropical areas have coconuts and citrus fruits because those are the things that nourish the skin. In Pennsylvania, we have pumpkin because we need the vitamin A more in that way. So there's just so many different things. And I agree with you. Getting back to fermenting is going to take some time because we have destroyed the earth. And that came from the Green Revolution. And we're going to genetically modify everything. Then we needed to produce a pesticide and an herbicide, which that's what glyphosate is. It's an herbicide. And they
Mhm.
had to genetically modify the plant to resist it so that the bugs would die, but the plant wouldn't. They just forgot to genetically modify us. And so in plants, what they genetically modified, and I don't know if you've ever read Dr. Stephanie Seneff's book, it's called Toxic Legacy, but I think you would enjoy it if you haven't. She talks about the shikimate pathway, and that in the plants themselves, what was genetically modified was the shikimate pathway because a bug has one, but we don't. But what Dr. Stephanie Seneff said was our probiotics have a shikimate pathway. And so when they genetically modified the plant's shikimate pathway to resist glyphosate, they did not genetically modify our probiotics shikimate
Mhm.
resistant. So our probiotics are being destroyed from this herbicide that they're spraying. This is what's in Roundup. It's what is sprayed on all industrial crops. They now have what's called Monsanto seeds. I think Bayer now bought Monsanto. So it's still out there. And even getting back to organic farming and farming at home is such a better step. Please do it if you can. Even grow things in pots in your house if you can.
Mhm.
Grow your herbs, grow tomatoes, whatever you can is one step to better. But there is a lot of cross pollination and contamination of seeds, and you can't stop bees from pollinating. So I think it's here to stay, and it's not about being afraid of it. It's about having a good strategy, right? So if anybody takes
Exactly.
anything from this little lecture that we did, which kind of went on many different levels here, take a probiotic, right? And so what
Right.
would be the one probiotic everybody should take coming out of this lecture, knowing that we can't escape toxicity, but we can at least do one good thing for
Yeah.
ourselves? What is it?
Well, Americans always like a magic pill, and if I could say that the healthy trinity is the magic pill, and I have people who have literally been on it for decades and can't live a day without it. The healthy trinity is, now I'm recommending it. People take it twice a day, not because my product is worse. I think it's better than ever. I think it's what we've done environmentally and socially to disrupt this probiotic process in our body, and that we make sure we take the right ones, that not only will protect us from bad bacteria, but from malfunctions in the body that ultimately lead to disease.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that's what they should take. So
Yeah.
I know there's no magic pill, but there is magic in your pills. So I think it all helps. And, I've learned a lot from you with the oil suspension. And, we did that webinar last night. So
Yeah.
it's going to be.
Yeah. In other words, you got to meet, your stomach was designed to kill bacteria. Okay. So I don't care what the potency is on your label. If your stomach acid kills 90% of it, it's meaningless and stresses out the next 10%, because the whole function of stomach acid is to digest proteins and to kill bacteria, which are mostly protein. So it's brilliantly designed. But the thing is, you have to figure out how you're going to get these bacteria back into your system without stressing them and killing them, and to incentivize them that they want to stay in your intestinal tract. They're not going to stay there to impress you. And so then I have the Healthy Trinity, and then I have the Healthy Start system, which is simple. It's the same bacteria in the Healthy Trinity, only they're separated, and you can take them in a powder or you can take them in a powdered capsule. And sometimes I tell people to take both because it's a different delivery system. It's not complicated. There's no wrong way to take it. It's just that these 3 bacteria have been designed to work with your body with these 2 delivery systems to make sure that every inch of that 27 feet is optimally functioning. And now I've released my protocol again, which I work with head of obstetrics and gynecology at Cedars-Sinai more than 30 years ago. It is a insert vaginally of the Lactobacillus acidophilus, and you take it orally because we have such problems with vaginal and urinary tract health that it's, I've never seen anything like this again. So I've had to go back to that method because I'm seeing that there's a huge need for it. And, if you go to the Natron website, we're going to have it up, or you can even call our ladies at Natron. The number's on the website. It's 866, the number 4, NATREN, and they'll hold your hand. They'll tell you it's very easy. It's nothing in our, it only looks complicated because you don't understand it.
Right.
But it's really simple. And you can never you could take a whole bottle of any one of my products. They will never hurt you because they're an essential part of us. They're part of us, not giving you anything that's not an essential part of us.
Amen. And that's a wrap. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, it is.
So, well, I appreciate you having me on tonight. And I think we're very much aligned in what we do. Just whole foundational health, being able to optimize the systems and functions in the body that you need to live, especially your digestive tract. I know it's come back up in my practice with my clients to make sure that they're doing good gut health and good quality when it comes to it. And your products are great. Your protocols are great. So I really appreciate you.
I'm thanking you because I think as ladies who have our heart in the right place, that our whole objective is not to make a business, but to first assist people and be of service to the people that come to us. And I appreciate you because I know that's the foundation of your practice. And I think as ladies of like mind, we should get more ladies of like mind. And I think that we start our communities and start changing people's minds and telling them it's simple. It's not that complicated. You don't have to do 20 things. You can do very simple things. And it's a good spend of your money. It's not an exorbitant spend.
Right. No, I totally agree. I love it.
Thank you so much. And we'll do this again. And we'll keep, I'd love to hear from people, chime in. I welcome your questions. I want to make sure that you know the right way to use the products, and I'll get the best people to give me their input because I want to share. And so with that, thank you for staying up because I know you're 3 hours ahead of me. I appreciate you, and hopefully we can do wonders together.
Amen. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a wonderful evening. Bye-bye.